Friends, Blizzard's actions this week have been nothing short of flabbergasting. I'd like to start out this video with a severe content warning. This video is going to get heavy and delve into some particularly dark places, but only by shining a light on those dark places can we hope to remove them. But I wanted to start off with a content warning. In case you're not comfortable, this video is going to contain stories of sexual harassment, mistreatment, and a whole host of other things. As you probably know by now, Blizzard's parent company, Activision-Blizzard, is being sued by the state of California for sexual harassment. I've done my best to read through the legal documents and many of the news articles surrounding this topic to try and bring you as much information as I can without you having to sift through all of the legal jargon and all the news articles by yourself. As always, I encourage you to do your own research, do your own reading, and form your own opinions. So, to begin with, the respondent in this case is not just Activision-Blizzard. It is Activision-Blizzard, but it's also Blizzard, it's also Activision, it's also all of their child companies. The claimant is the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, and their grounds for legal proceedings is the Civil Rights and Equal Pay Act. They have demanded a jury trial. To boil this down, the state of California believes that Activision Blizzard and its child companies have in some way infringed on people's civil rights, and they have not been paying people fairly and equitably for equal work. The document starts off extremely strong, with the line, "Women and girls now make up almost half of gamers in America, but the gaming industry continues to cater to men." It follows along with, "Recent diversity and marketing campaigns have unfortunately changed little. The defendant's compliance with California's broad workplace protections is long overdue." Point 3, however, is perhaps one of the most strikingly well-written points, and I love California for its straightforward legal writing, presented here in all of its glory. Unlike its customer base of increasingly diverse players, the defendant's workforce is only about 20% women. Its top leadership is also exclusively male and white. The CEO and president roles are now, and always have been, held by white men. Very few women ever reach top roles at the company. The women who do reach higher roles earn less salary, less incentive pay, and total compensation than their male peers, as evidenced in the defendant's own records, and then the records are attached. Points 5, 6, and 7 go on to discuss Blizzard's frat boy culture and how this leads to sexual harassment and discrimination. What remains is a lot of legal requirements in a document, including the actual claims of action, and it remains damning. You do not take a Fortune 500 company to court without damning evidence. And this document contains no less than 10 causes of action. Effectively, 10 reasons to sue, each with their own subpoints and their own evidence. With this trial going live and with the demand for a jury, the case was immediately made public knowledge. The allegations left a lot of the community, myself included, feeling betrayed. As stated in the document itself, the World of Warcraft community is among the most diverse in the world. I had a good look at the people that I play with, and the content creators that are in this space, and I find that it is almost an even split between men and women. And the diversity of people that I play with and that make content about this game is incredible. We play with people from all across the world, from all different backgrounds, from all walks of life, and from multiple different languages and backgrounds. I'm sure most people watching this would know by now that this community is more than just straight, white, male neckbeards. Look at some of the leaders of our community, and you'll find just as many, if not more, women's voices than men. And while that represents our community, it does not represent the company that we all stand around that makes World of Warcraft. So, what happened next? Well, things got even worse, of course. But before I can go into the absolutely tone-deaf response we received from Activision-Blizzard VP Fran Townsend, I need to give you some background into whom that person actually is. Fran Townsend joined Activision Blizz as a VP in March of this year. Prior, she worked for the District Attorney's Office in New York under Rudy Giuliani. Yes, that guy from the Trump campaign. That sweaty goblin-looking man. She began specializing in prosecuting white-collar crime and began focusing later on organized crime, where, in her time, she conducted interviews with members of the literal New York Mafia. She then moved into working on foreign intelligence and surveillance, and she worked on the White House anti-terrorism campaign prior to and post 9/11. In 2017, she was recommended as a candidate to become the director of the FBI and to become former President Donald Trump's director of national intelligence. So, as you can see, someone who has spent their life and their career fighting organized crime, white-collar crime, working on counterterrorism, and in some cases inspecting Iraqi prisons, the next logical step for her was to become an executive vice president Blizzard for corporate affairs and compliance. Makes sense to me. Okay, enough background. Back to dissecting the worst statement ever written by a lawyer in the history of mankind. Everyone. Okay, we're gonna stop at line 1. Who the fuck starts an email like this? As the executive sponsor of the ABK Employee Women's Network, ABK is the acronym for Activision-Blizzard, and it is an internal program for bringing women together within the company to try and create a safe space for women to communicate. I wanted to reach out to you. I know this has been difficult for many of us. Okay, good start so far. A recently filed lawsuit presented a distorted and untrue picture of our company, including factually incorrect, old, and out-of-context stories, some from more than a decade ago. Well, I don't know if anyone told Fran this, but it really doesn't matter how old a story is. What's important is the changes that were made to stop it from ever happening again, and how it was dealt with. What happened 10 years ago, more than a decade ago. I'm pretty sure if California thought, well, 10 years ago a few bad apples did some bad things, but they completely changed their culture and it's a shining example, they wouldn't be putting Activision on trial. It continues. The Activision companies of today, the Activision companies that I know, are great companies with good values. Fran Townsend has been there, at this point, for 3 months. 3 months. The Activision companies that I know. 3 months is just long enough to learn 2 people's names. When I joined the executive leadership team, I was certain that I was joining a company where I would be valued, treated with respect, and provided opportunities equal to those afforded to men of the company. For me, this has been true during my time. As a leader, I am committed to making sure that this experience that I have is the same as the rest of the organization. Yep. Good. Like, the wording is good, right? Where I'd be valued, treated with respect, provided with opportunities equal to those afforded to men of the company, and for you, that has been true during your time. That's awesome. But it also negates everyone else's experience. Continuing on with the statement, this is a nearly 60-year-old ex-prosecutor who worked in an office that famously represented the man who said, "Grab him by the pussy."
Whatever you want. Grab him by the pussy. I can do anything.
And she thinks the culture is impeccable. To reiterate, she is someone who worked with and for literal war criminals. So compared to that, Activision-Blizzard probably does have a great culture. I mean, if I had to choose between working in an Iraqi prison or for a video game company, I know which one I would work for. But that doesn't make either of them acceptable. The message that she has is tone deaf, and it continues on in the same tone. It doesn't acknowledge any of the experiences of the staff. And I've said it many times, someone else's intentions and someone else's experiences do not invalidate anyone else's experiences. How you perceive what has happened is valid. It's equally valid to how someone else perceives the experience. Now, if someone is lying, then it's not valid, right? That's basic logic. But there's so many of these. So many people have come forward that we can't invalidate their experiences. Following this, J. Allen Brack released another statement. He also released a tone-deaf statement, but at least his heart seems to have been in the right place. He said that the behaviour detailed in the court case is, quote, completely unacceptable, and that it goes without saying that those actions are unacceptable. Completely correct. Great statement. He then goes on to talk about how he hired a woman when he became the director of World of Warcraft. He calls her a saint of the Brack household, which sounds like terrible wording for someone accused of fostering a frat boy culture. He then goes on to say that he disdains bro culture and has spent his entire career fighting against it, which means that he is either blind or incompetent at his job, as this investigation shows that bro culture is clearly instilled within Blizzard. If you've spent your entire career fighting against it, you haven't done a very good job. At this point, thousands of current and former Blizzard employees began coming forward with their experiences, and the hunt within the community for more information began. Was the Blizzard we all knew and loved really just a cesspool of villainy? And then two interesting things happened. One, the Blizzard staff began an open letter calling for the leadership to basically acknowledge their bullshit, and they organised a massive staff and player strike. Two, more evidence came to light that one particular former member of the revered Blizzard community was not only a sexual harassment fiend, but also just an all-around terrible person in real life. Not to diminish the efforts of the fine staff at Blizzard, but first I want to focus on that employee. Enter Alex Afrasabi and the Cosby Suite. Alex Afrasabi, who had the terrible alias Furor, and was also known on the Blizzard forums as Valnoth, he had the Ashbringer as his icon if you were around back then, was the senior creative director for World of Warcraft. He was first hired as an associate quest designer in 2004, before Vanilla WoW was even released. He was there from the beginning of World of Warcraft. He worked on some of the most beloved quest chains in the game, including the one for Thunder Fury, the Blessed Blade of the Windseeker. He worked on Dire Maul. He worked on the Death Knight starting area. During the Burning Crusade, he was the lead quest designer, and through the Wrath of the Lich King, he was the lead world designer. And after that, he moved on to Project Titan, the game that eventually became Overwatch. After Project Titan was scrapped and Jeff Kaplan took over Overwatch, he moved back for Warlords of Draenor and Legion as the creative director. He was a beloved member of the World of Warcraft community. Many items in World of Warcraft named after him. He came across from EverQuest, along with the aforementioned Jeff Kaplan, and in June of 2020, he was quietly removed from the company. And it seems that now we know why. Alex, during his time at Blizzard and through his times at BlizzCon, seems to have taken his rockstar status way too far. There was, at BlizzCon, a green room designed for senior staff to relax, take breaks, have some sleep, have the odd drink, and wind down. And it appears that Alex used this as his own personal hot Cosby den. In the image you see here, you can clearly see a few senior members of Blizzard, including one of the members of the HR team, and of course Alex himself, posing in a bedroom at BlizzCon with a giant picture of Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, for those of you unfamiliar, around this time had recently made the news for sexually assaulting a whole bunch of people. How do we know what time this picture is from? Well, Alex Afrasiabi himself posted the conversation about the Cosby suite on his own Facebook page. The fact that this photo was posted to Facebook and made public is in its own right damning. If this is the public persona, how bad is the locker room talk? I want to draw your attention back to my earlier point of him being quietly let go, and I want you to cast your mind back to the other high-profile people that left Blizzard around this time. Former EverQuest veteran and Alex's direct manager and peer, Jeff Kaplan. The legendary Chris Metzen and the indomitable Mike Morhaime. At the time, we assumed they all left because they were done. Or maybe that the culture was toxic, or that they didn't like the direction the games were going. But now, I'm sure we all have extra questions. Did they know? Were they let go as part of the internal investigation? You have to think. Jeff Kaplan, former EverQuest veteran, direct manager of Afrasiabi, he had to have known. Chris Metzen, Mike Morhaime, they had to have known. These were not random low-level employees. This was the lead creative director. Okay, so where are we now? Well, I mentioned earlier that thousands of Blizzard employees came forward with their stories of abuse, underpayment, sexual harassment, and more. And so a mass walkout was staged, with employees walking out of the job, stopping development, and protesting, and a massive player response doing the same. At the time of writing, World of Warcraft currently has under 20,000 viewers live on Twitch, the lowest I have ever seen it, and far below where it was 2 weeks ago during the Race to World First, peaking over 300,000. So where do we go from here? Well, there's a lot you can do. If you have the money, consider donating it to one of the charities linked below that help women in tech fight for fair and equal treatment. If charities aren't your thing, there are other things you can do. One of them is to create and encourage spaces in your work, in your game sessions, where women can be heard just as loudly, if not louder, than men. Women across this planet regularly are forced to fight twice as hard just to get into the same room as men who get to be there just because they have a fucking cock. Women regularly have to fight twice as hard just to be heard once they're in the room. And after all that fighting, just to be able to be on the same level playing field, they still get paid less. They still get treated like shit. They still get harassed at work. It's not okay. As a man, as men, we need to create spaces for our peers. We need to create spaces for women to be listened to and to be valued. Because they are valued. Everyone has value. This is a diverse community with a diverse player base. We have men, women, non-binary members of our community who deserve to be represented, deserve to be in those rooms based on sheer merit alone, and not by what fucking genitals they have. If you or someone you know is feeling depressed or experiencing harassment or is struggling, please reach out to them. And if you can't, or if they can't, get them to reach out to their local lifeline. In Australia, that is 131114. They offer 24/7 support. And I want to remind you at the end of this heavy topic, You are valued. You are seen. And you are loved.